It is a huge blessing to be here today, and this is a bigger room than I thought I was going to be speaking in, and more feedback too. All right, so as I said, my name is Shelli Lundgren, so I could introduce myself exactly as they did. I'm a former student of Providence. I graduated class of 2013. I could also introduce myself as somehow the youngest member of the current Providence board, so that was very cool. I could introduce myself as a teacher who's been in her classroom for over a decade. This marked 10 years at my current school. I know, it's a long time. I could introduce myself as a wife, a cat mom, a runner, a lover of books, but really, I'm nobody. Who am I in this context? I'm just a person who's going to speak for maybe 15, 20 minutes, then you're going to go live the rest of your life. Even if you do remember something I say, I'll be lucky if you reassociate it with me as a person. It'll probably end up in that corner of your brain called Things I Heard at Chapel at Providence, because ultimately I am a nobody. But what are you? I looked this up. You're a mix of water, carbon, ammonia, salt, etc. You'll probably keep breathing for hopefully 70 to 80 more years. You're a body sitting in a pew with about 15 other things in your head about what so-and-so said this morning, what you want to do the minute I finally stop talking, and who knows what else. I don't know, because I don't know you. Maybe I'll get to someday, but to me, right now, you're also nobody. Nobody wants to be a nobody. I, for one, really dream of being a somebody. Did anybody watch the Olympics this summer? Anybody? Okay, nothing makes you feel old like watching the Olympics. These are like teenagers winning medals. I've had twice as much time on this planet as them. And what do I have to show for it? I think my only claim to fame is while I was at Providence, they made a rule because of me. That rule was no tent camping on the sand volleyball court. But now you don't even have a sand volleyball court. So again, I'm still a nobody, alas. You know what else humbles you? Being a teacher. A high schooler will let you know when you are not cool. Apparently, I am now too old to say any Gen Z words, even if I'm one of the rare adults who actually understands the difference between riztastic and bussin'. I cannot say it. But even professionally, teaching humbles you. So as I said, I've been at my school for 10 years, and I've seen this happen firsthand. One of my colleagues literally built the school I teach at from the ground up. 40 years of her life to this place, since before they even had a high school building. She gave all the years of her life to make it happen. But then a few years ago, we got to throw her an awesome retirement party, right? Because she gave so much, we wanted to remember her. But now, how long did it take for her to be forgotten? 4 years. The last freshman she taught is gone. And it's almost like she never existed. I kid you not, this really happened. She came to visit campus a few months ago and had a medical emergency. They had to clear the quad to get the medic to her. And I was like, what's going on? So I asked a sophomore, I'm like, hey, do you know what's going on out there? They're like, oh, some old lady fell. They had no idea. She was the one who basically made the hallway they were walking through, just some old lady. We all end up as nobodies. But I want to be somebody. So I chose to go to Providence because at a small school, your impact can be huge. I could be anything. I could be on student senate and start the drama department. I could act in the first play ever performed. I could be the secretary of the ballroom dance club and work in the academic resource center. There were so many places that needed me, what I had to offer. I could try my hand at any number of things and build a legacy that I believe in. A reformed Christian education on the West Coast where we make an impact in a city, not a cornfield. We are in the world, but not of it, appreciating all the beauty and brokenness and complexity, but also thinking critically about everything we participate in. And like my colleague, my participation, my tuition was part of why you are able to sit here in these seats. And you, sitting in these seats, are paving the way for whoever comes here next. And also for you to become active members of whatever community God calls you to when you graduate. But look, this is a genuine question. Do you even have a ballroom dance club anymore? Thumbs up or thumbs down? No, exactly. As I said, I'm a nobody, right? Started it, did not last. Are you guys still putting on plays? Is that a yes or a no? No? See, that's the thing. We started a whole program and now it's not happening, right? You know, it could be inspiration, could happen again. But that's the thing, right? They've also renamed the Academic Support and Career Center 4 times, I think, since I graduated. but at least being a board member is a big deal, right? That's a position, it's a title, maybe it's power, but how many of you actually know a board member? Okay, like 3 people, that's great. But, except for Chloe. Chloe has the fortunate or unfortunate experience of having been my student, so you're welcome, or I'm sorry, take your pick. But most of you, right, can gossip about me later, but you have no clue who I am. And like my colleague, when I leave my current school, I'm gonna be forgotten again in 4 years. I've already seen it happen, because nobody escapes becoming a nobody. That is why Ecclesiastes, which I read earlier, is my favorite book. It's like it really gets me. So the same reading from before. Meaningless, meaningless, says the teacher. Utterly meaningless, everything is meaningless. What do people gain from all their labors with which they toil under the sun? Generations come, generations go, but the earth remains forever. The sun rises, the sun sets and hurries back to where it rises. The wind blows to the south, turns to the north, round and round it goes, ever returning on its course. All streams flow to the sea, but the sea is never full. To the place where streams come from, there they return again. All things are wearisome, more than one can say. The eye never has enough of seeing, the ear never its fill of hearing. What has been will be again, what has been done will be done again. There is nothing new under the sun. Other than the fact that Ecclesiastes is my favorite book, while figuring out what to talk on today, this also came to my mind because my pastor in Escondido has just started a series on this book. I was very excited because it's my favorite, but we are only 2 weeks into it, and I think he's only apologized maybe 10 times for depressing everybody. He also says he's going to be taking a week off once a month to do something cheerful from the Psalms so nobody gets overwhelmed. So, as much as I love him, I think he's missing something. I have not found Ecclesiastes to be depressing. I have actually found it to be incredibly freeing. And here's why. I personally have struggled very hard with anxiety. I have second-guessed every word I've ever said, and I'm a teacher, so that's a lot of words for me to regret in the middle of the night. Congrats to you, Ed majors. You're someday going to be in the same boat as me. My blood runs cold when I get an email from anyone, but especially when it's my boss saying, "Come by my office." No further context. Would anybody else be a little anxious with that email? Please tell me not the only one. Okay, there we go. Thank you. Why? Why does he do this? But he does it all the time. I have thrown up from nerves on a first date. That was really embarrassing. I've woken up in the night unable to sleep because of my failures. I have struggled to get out of bed because I've wondered what new horrors the day would hold. You get the picture. I can only speak for myself, but when I get anxious, it is because I want something that I don't have, but Ecclesiastes knows I will never get. I want control. I want safety. I want certainty. I want permanence. I want to be liked. I want to look good. I want to feel good. And what if I don't? What then? I don't want to be rejected. I don't want to be let down. I want to just be okay. Is that so much to ask? But if I'm being honest, I also want a little more than okay. I want to be somebody. I want to be admired. I want to be appreciated. I want to be smart and funny, but not in like a stuck-up influencer way, just a chill, effortless, everyone wants to be around her sort of way. My students would not let me, but I might call this main character energy. And that pressure is just too much. I say too many stupid things. I talk too fast. I'm sure some of you in your heads are already like, please, slow down, woman. My students tell me every day. I don't dress well enough. Nothing I do can guarantee that the day is even going to be okay, much less better than okay. Main character energy is a killer when it comes in conflict with reality. We might center our lives around ourselves, but we're always going to be the NPC in someone else's life. Ecclesiastes, though, is only a threat if you think you're supposed to be something more and make your permanent mark on this planet. But what if we aren't the main character? And what if life isn't all there is? If you can let go of the need to be everything, maybe you can find some contentment and peace in just being something. When I was praying for what to talk to you guys about, what I needed to hear when I was in your pews, or maybe something meaningful God showed me since then, God brought to mind a single line of a hymn, "Content to fill a little space, if thou be glorified." How many of us would really be content to only fill a little space if it would glorify God? If God laid out the plan for your life and it was missing the bells and whistles of the dreams that you are pursuing right now, would you be content if you knew that was what God wanted? Is God the main character in your life? I'm preaching to myself here. My life personally has not been what I want it to be since the moment I got my diploma and walked through these doors for what I thought would be the last time. The day I graduated, I was in love with the man of my dreams, and I would have given anything to be with him, which at the time included forgiving him for falling in love with someone else, giving him a second chance, moving back across the United States for him, giving him 6 years of my life after graduation in my whole heart, only for him to break up with me on the day he said he was going to propose. That was not the space I wanted to fill in God's kingdom when I sat in your seat. Or how about some of my friends who I graduated with, and there is more than one, whose dreams were to start a family. But over a decade later, they still have empty cribs in their house, and they're starting to wonder, are they going to be empty forever? I'm sure all of you have your stories, maybe you already do, of what you thought the spaces you wanted to fill were, but the spaces that you ended up not actually wanting to fill. Maybe there was a class you were embarrassed you had to retake. Maybe the person you trusted stabbed you in the back. Maybe there was a job you thought you'd get, but instead you got the rejection letter. So why does God ask us to fill these spaces? Why did I have to fill the space of heartbreak in his kingdom? Maybe it was needed for my empathy, my counseling practice, mentoring students. That was 6 years ago, and I still do not know why. But I do know that I serve a God who promises there is a why. Providence is more than the name of this college. It is our greatest comfort in life and in death. You don't need to be a somebody to the world to be somebody to God. The pressure is off. A failed dream is not a failed life. There is a space you are called to, and it might be a little one. It might not be the space you are imagining for your future, but it matters, and it is handpicked by God. In fact, today it might be as simple as taking the attention off yourself and serving the person next to you. Did you know, speaking of anxiety, that serving others has actually been proven to be a more effective defense against anxiety and depression than actual psychiatric drugs? There have been experiments on this. When we take our eyes off ourselves and what we want to be, and we look around us, or better yet, look up, you don't need to be the whole wall holding the team up. You can just be one brick. God has the rest in his hands. So what is my space now? Unfortunately, it was not having that wedding we were planning at the top of the library in San Diego with the honeymoon in Japan and a ritzy apartment in the Gaslamp Quarter. But I do fill a little space in room 3 at Calvin Christian School, and I love it. Whether or not the students forget me in 4 years, it wasn't about them remembering my name. It was about if they remembered God's. I trust that my work there will echo in his kingdom. I also get to fill a little space on the board of the college that made me who I am. That might not be prestige, but it is purpose. The people I've been able to know in these spaces are priceless, and I know that God directed me there. That is sure. In the same way, God is directing each of you in this room. I do not know you, but he does. He has a space for you to fill here and beyond. I hope that your journey to and beyond graduation goes much more smoothly than perhaps mine did. But I also know that to follow Christ is to share in his suffering. So whether it does or it doesn't, I hope that you hold your hopes loosely. I hope that you open your hands and let go of the anxiety of trying to be someone that you cannot make yourself into. And in open-handed surrender, receive instead the assurance that your worth is not based on something you do, making the right investments, saying the right thing, but on the finished work of Christ, who declared you're worth dying for before you took your first breath. You can say something stupid. You can write the greatest book and not sell a single copy. You can get a C on a paper. You can set a track record and have it broken in the next month. Your paycheck can be half of what you thought it was going to be, and you can be content with that if you are filling the little space that you are called to, that you are given by your King. You might just be a cog in the wheel, but you're God's precious cog, and the body would not run without you. Now, I just mixed metaphors, and as an English teacher, that is a must not do. So I'm going to transition to using the words of the actual hymn writer. that I had the few verses of the hymn already. So I'm going to read a few verses of the hymn that God gave me today to close out our time. The hymn, if you do not know, is called Father, I Know That All My Life. But when I finished reading it, I am a teacher. And Kyle said that no one's tried this yet, but he's been wanting to experiment. And so I am the one who is going to make you take the plunge. I have a few discussion questions at the end. And I'm going to ask you to get in groups, ideally just the people in your pew, right? You don't have to move around. Man, now I feel like I'm teaching, yeah. So with the people in your pew, right, you're gonna have a little discussion. So if it feels high school, I'm sorry. I teach high school, and you invited me here. If it feels too personal, that's good. This is a community where we're called to be vulnerable with each other. If it feels too basic, good. These are the basic things we need to remind each other every day. What could be more basic than our purpose? So the questions will be on the screen at the end. But to start, the first question is going to be what line or lines of the hymn stood out to you most. So knowing that ahead of time, if you want to jot down the lines that stand out to you as I read the hymn, so you can feel more prepared for a graduated parent share, you are welcome to do so. I'm looking at you, EDU concentration people, right? Let's model what we want to see someday in our classrooms. So here are the lyrics. What line stands out most to you? Father, I know that all my life is portioned out for me. The trials that are sure to come, I do not fear to see. But I ask thee for a present mind, intent on pleasing thee. I would not have the restlessness that hurries to and fro, seeking for some great thing to do or secret thing to know. I would be treated as a child and guided where I go. Wherever in this world I am, and whatsoe'er estate, I have a fellowship with hearts to keep and cultivate, and a work of lowly love to do for the Lord on whom I wait. So I ask thee for the daily strength, to none that ask denied, and a mind to blend with outward life while keeping at thy side, content to fill a little space, if thou be glorified. There are briars besetting every path that call for patient care. There is a cross in every lot and an earnest need for prayer. But a lowly heart that leans on thee is happy anywhere. In service which thy will appoints, there are no bonds for me. My inmost heart is taught the truth that makes thy children free. And a life of self-renouncing love is a life of liberty. So, turn to your pew. What line stood out to you and why? Thank you so much for participating. It's a blessing to my heart to see you talking to each other, to see the community, even though I don't get to be part of it in the same way anymore. I've been blessed to watch you participating. I've been blessed to have you politely laugh at my jokes. I've been blessed to be even a small part of what you're doing at Providence. And I'm just so thankful that you're all here, that you all believe in the mission, and that God's put you in this place to go out and do work for him. So the final thoughts, who are you? In the grand scheme of history and space, you might be a nobody, but you are a nobody with an eternal soul of infinite, God-given worth that the creator of the universe is using to make an impact in the little space of his kingdom. And who am I? I might be a nobody, but to God, I am his child, and that is enough for me. So let's pray. Dear Lord, I thank you so much for these students. I thank you for this college. I thank you for the professors who've poured their life out to build this place for me. I thank you for the students who took the plunge to go to a small school on the West Coast and engage with you and your word in a deep and personal way. Lord, I pray that you would guide each of their lives, that whether that be through hills or valleys, that you would just bless them in that, and that as they look around, they would see not just the things they've accomplished, but they would see instead you. I pray that you would bless them in this day, bless travels for the sports teams, bless whatever is going on in their life that you know about, but I don't. If it be your will, bring me back to get to meet some of them in person someday, and bless the day of classes that I get to sit in on. And in Jesus' name, amen.